Hello again, I'm Jay Hicks with Gerald Properties, and we're reviving Goolricks. But we're out in the field today doing a little more exploration, talking to some of the craftsmen that we're working with to put this landmark back in its proper state. So today we're in Richmond in the Shockoe Bottom area, visiting Benjamin French. Come on in and let's see some lighting reimagined. Okay guys, now we're on the inside of Benjamin French, and we're here with Katie. Her and her husband run this shop and have spent decades imagining lighting for us. And now they're here in Benjamin French reimagining lighting. Katie, I walk into your shop and I just say, wow. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have going on here?
Sure, we'd love to. So we've been collecting for about 25 years. Ken has been restoring for that long. But in terms of me coming into the scene, it really was something that I did as a retirement chapter together. And I do love art and I do love design. Haven't had a lot of opportunity to use it in my past jobs, so I was really excited to kind of expand my horizons with this. And we saw this building really kind of as a blank slate. It was built in 1916, and it was a photography studio when we took it over. And we're big collectors of anything old. And so over the years, we've collected just artifacts. And so the columns were something that we really had in the basement that we asked our contractor to kind of incorporate. But we wanted to really create an atmosphere that when you walk in, you understand how lighting can really change a room or change a space. We really kind of focus mainly on lighting from the 1900s to the 1940s, although we have pieces from the late 1800s and also up to mid-century. I think of my role as kind of a support role. I do a lot of the purchasing. And, you know, for years, I mentioned we've been collecting for 25 plus years. That was a lot of off-road kinds of things. We love to travel, and so instead of taking 95 up and down the Eastern Corridor, we went off onto little dirt roads and found an old barn that had things for sale.
Well, your shop's beautiful, and thank you for having us here.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're now back in the workshop of Benjamin French, where Katie says the magic happens, and we're back here with her husband Ken. And Ken, you've got some examples of some of the items, things
that's right.
that are affixed to the restoration of lighting that you do. Are some of these things an example of what we'll be using at Goolrick's?
Yes, in fact, we represent almost all of the parts that will be put together in order to build each of the four varieties of the lights that we're building for Goolrick's. And so I maybe can highlight just a few different aspects of what I do and how I do it. For example, with the number of bell canopies that we are using throughout Goolrick's, and we've sourced these around the country, they will come in a very rough, aged look. Some have turned quite a bit, some have a marginal amount of wear and tear, so it really varies. But in order to get this back to a consistent look and a look that represents an age that's appropriate for the rest of the parts of the chandeliers and of the pendants, we have to kind of start from scratch and let Mother Nature and the patina build back up. So we may use a simple coarse steel wool and run it into what's called a 4/0 wool, which is really a polishing cloth. And if we go through these kinds of buffings, if you will, then hopefully we'll have a nice finished product that, again, will age and turn in a relatively short period of time.
Are you telling me these are this bell started out the same condition as this bell?
Or worse.
Okay.
Or worse.
That's it's just through simply the polishing, the wire brush, and
and most of the tools, well, all the tools that you see here are hand tools. Now I do have a wheel there for buffing very rough surfaces. It would ruin something like this because you could almost take this metal, and if you were strong enough, you could distort this, and it's basically serving a function of covering up a hole in the ceiling and then covering up the hardware that keeps the weight of what hangs below it. but this is not something you would ever put on an automated piece of equipment. Why were things done by hand years ago? Well, because of limited equipment and technology. But why is it done today? Personally, I believe because you get a better controlled finished product without having any issues along the way. So when I do an installation, if you will, you're not hearing any power screwdrivers or so. Everything is turned by hand, and everything here is worked by hand as well.
And I think that's something that you told us, is that from this repair, restoration work to the installation, something you take pride in is doing it right.
And doing it right the first time, too.
Right on.
Sure. And then cloth wire, as we might have seen with the projects that we're working on, is something as well that will replicate the original cloth wire that these fixtures were hung with. And so it's a decorative element in addition to being a functional element. So every piece that we have here, there are these small brass balls that will actually do the heavy lifting when this ceiling canopy goes in. And these, believe it or not, these two will actually hold everything in place in the ceiling. Everything in terms of patina has to match as closely as possible so that there's one consistent look.
It looks like you're doing good work here, and so we're going to look forward to seeing some of the lighting that you've been working on. We're now in a little further interior space at Benjamin French, another room that's been ornately decorated with the fine lighting that they are producing here. And we're with Ken, who's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the lighting that we are going to expect at the Goolricks back in Fredericksburg. Goolricks, we know, is a turn-of-the-century space and had some remodeling, some significant restoration in the 1920s. And it looks like we might have some lights that might fit back into that type of time frame.
Exactly.
All right, so Ken, would you mind telling us a little bit what we're looking at and what we can expect to see in Goolricks?
Yeah, sure, thank you. So this does fit into that time period very well, and even fits in terms of its look and design into the way in which Goolricks is going to be used as well. So it really has like a double reinforcement. And the milk glass itself, we sourced where we've needed other parts to mimic the original look. We have purchased other parts that would again have the similar and consistent patina of what the entire fixture should look like, including the chain and including a cloth cased wire. So let's just go ahead and see if we have a little light in here.
All right. Okay.
So these would be suspended on a chain and bell canopy from the ceiling. And we'll have a number of those throughout the first floor. Where we have a flush mount design right up to the ceiling, we'll have two of these that will be fairly close to each other. And then we have another section that will have what we call a waffle cased, a waffle design on the globe itself. Yet you'll notice that it's totally suspended by electrical wire, a different design than having the wire running through the chain itself. And these will all be adjusted to a consistent height across where they go.
Certainly. And now you've shown us the globe, and then you've shown us this dome, is what I would call it, light, but it doesn't have the encasing on it. Is there a special story to this particular type of light? Was this always used in this fashion?
It wasn't really. In more recent times now, we're using them as pendant lights. But as you're holding it right now, these would actually sit on the top of either a floor lamp or a table lamp in order to cast light up. And there would even be a cloth shade that would sit on top of this. So this would be hidden from view. You would see the shade, you would see the light through it, and the light would emanate up. Right. And so now, since we're not really producing them for that anymore, if you have anything on the market that would look like a waffle, they're going to be pendant in style, coming down.
Okay. Another example of a little repurposing here.
That's right.
Things are always Benjamin French.
Things are always changing.
All right, now we've beautiful globe lights. Those are really going to add some great aesthetics to our soda fountain. But these are some pretty ornate looking fixtures here? What are we examining here? The history and what we're going to do with them?
They are very ornate. We actually sourced 3 of these a couple of years ago because we had never seen them before. They go to the very early part of the 20th century, so they actually have an older period of time in which they were manufactured than these. These were just following. And what we have in terms of the exterior design on the glass is what we call slag glass, and this is kind of a sample piece of slag glass that not only has a inconsistent or variegated design to it, you'll see that the designs on 2 of them will never be the same.
Gotcha.
Each piece is very unique.
So we have the visual texture, if you will, my use of the word, liberal use of the word, but there's also a texture to it. There's a touch texture to it as well.
That's right. So there's a smooth side and more of a textured side, which when placing in the fixture itself, typically the smooth side would go out for easier cleaning and maintenance, gives a better refraction of light. And the one right near you, Jay, right here, as I'm showing you, this is how they fit back into place. They slip out.
There's a little clip that would hold it in place, but there's enough room to allow for it to be removed.
A little bit of play and for a little bit of movement, because stress on glass like this, which is no longer produced, means we have to be very careful.
Right on.
And so we have taken the slag glass from the 3 that we've purchased and have been able to move it over to completely dress 2 of them. You'll see that the reflector plate in here has been restored. This is the before picture. One other thing that's real important to talk about is the white milk glass bottom on these, which is where the light is going straight down. And it's a little bit difficult for me to do it on this side, but the bottom is hinged. So think of this above your head. You need to change your light bulb. There's a turn knob to activate the hinged glass plate here. That opens up, hand comes in, take a light bulb out, put a new one in, close it up, you're good to go. So they were designed for ease of maintenance too.
Beauty and function.
Yeah.
All right, what another great visit with some of the craftsmen that are helping us put this landmark back together in its proper state. Here at Benjamin French, we learned so much, and what a great place to come and look at some of the finer points that can be brought to your home. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep putting this baby back together, and so we look forward to seeing you again next time on Reviving Goolricks.
Please follow us on all our socials to stay up to date with the latest happenings.